to start off with, it's hard to obviously show through a screen, but they're actually weighted to 1.2 kilos. So I don't know what the weight of some cans of beans or something are, but if you were to find out what the weight of a can of beans are and then kind of add together to get to about 1.2 kilos, that's the weight of it. So the reason we made it weighted was the research says that when you've got a weight, it has a calming effect, especially for young children. So even for an adult, this feels like weighty. So if you can imagine a child, this is going to feel really comforting to them. So with the plushie, as you can see, on the back, there's a zip. And in the back of the zip, when I get the plushies, I then have to add the device. So all of these come separate, and I then, in my little office here, I then bring everything together. So with the device, it's rechargeable. So with all of the orders, in the box, you'll also get a charger that are like a USB, so you can connect it to a USB plug and then plug it in so it doesn't run out. So first of all, I wanted it so that it's not just going to last a month and then the device run out. That was really important to me. I wanted it to be able to be rechargeable. And then on the device, you turn it on. You've got a button to turn it on, and you've also got a volume control. So again, if it's too loud, you can press the little button at the side and it turns it down. So again, if someone's going to sleep and it's on the highest setting, it may then disrupt, if you've got a sibling, it may disrupt them. So once you press the device once, on the sloth, I just wanted to mention, the weighted plushie is actually voice guided by CBeebies presenter, children's author, JC Sheppy. And what we want in the future, ultimate future, I want it that people can choose any voice. They can choose their parents' voice. They could also pick whatever techniques they want. They'd pick their plushie, they'd pick their emoji badges and their hobby badges, and it'd all be personalised. But as you can imagine, as it's just me and I've just started out, I've had to just get a standard voice for each plushie to start with. And then obviously in time we'll develop it even further. But it's Jace's voice to start with, and he starts off with the sloth. It's like a verbal journal. So he basically asks how you are. So he's asking the child, because again, journaling and getting into that, I suppose, habit of recognising how you're feeling and then letting those thoughts go. So not holding on to them, acknowledging it and then letting it go. So if I don't know if you'll be able to hear through the screen when I press it, you should then hear. Apologies if you can't hear.
How are you? What are you thinking about? Let me take your thoughts and whisper them to the trees, so you don't have to think about them anymore. Let your mind be free. And if you press the button again, we will focus on our breathing.
So that's the verbal journal. So that's the first thing that comes out. And you can also go onto my website, www.thecalmnesscrew.com, to actually hear examples. So I know that I've just done the example there, but if you're like, oh, what was that voice and what's the voice of the koala? You can go onto the website under the Calmness Crew section and you can hear samples of the voices, so you can get an idea of which one is best for your child. Once then you've done the verbal journal, then you press it again and it goes into the box breathing technique. So I'm not going to keep it going for ages and ages, but I just want to show you an example of exactly what each of the techniques sounds like.
Breathe in through your nose. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in through your nose.
And then you press it again for positive affirmations.
I am calm. I am safe. I am loved. I am enough. I am kind.
And then you press again for the grounding
I am
technique.
What are 5 things you can see?
So this then runs through the grounding technique, which is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, if you have heard of it. I'm not going to play it constantly.
What are 4 things you can feel?
And then you can turn it off. So if I turn it off now. So basically those techniques, the reasons I've used those techniques is because when talking to mental health professionals, they're the techniques that mental health professionals use. So local to us in Derby is a company called Bridge the Gap, and there's mental health professionals there, and they have children through, they do training at schools, they kind of get involved with the local Derby community, and they have said that they are the techniques that actually they use with the children. So with that, when I went to them and spoke about what I'd created, they said in their time with regards to mental health, yes, there's various apps out there and there's YouTube, but they've never seen something that was a comforting plushie that actually kind of guides through these mental health techniques. So that's the reason that these techniques have been put in. It's because research and science says, even, and you think, if you think about it, positive affirmations, you kind of think, how can something like positive affirmations have such and kind of a remarkable effect on the brain? But there was actually somebody sent me a link to Radio 4 the other day, because they heard a professor talking on there with regards to the simplicity of positive affirmations and practicing gratitude. And if you're telling yourself every day, I am calm, I am safe, your brain doesn't know what is kind of real and what you're making up. So if you're reinforcing those feelings and those emotions, then naturally, if you're doing that a lot throughout the day, you're going to feel calmer, you're going to feel better. If you're surrounding yourself with negativity, surrounding yourself with kind of bad stuff and things that trigger anxiety, make you worried, then that's going to be what you're holding on to. So the more that you can be doing these positive affirmations, the more that you can be doing things to improve your mindset, the more you're going to be stopping feeling those emotions that are trying to kind of trick us into feeling as though we're not safe when we actually are. So that's the device. So that then goes into the back of the plushie. So that goes in and then that gets zipped up. So then that's, if you're just buying a plushie, that's what you kind of get. Within the box as well, as I mentioned before, you get the charger, and then you also get this booklet. So it was important for me because a lot of people say, oh, what are their names? And it was something that was important to me, that we didn't actually name each of the characters. It was the child that named it. So they have some authority over what they call it, what's a comforting name for them. So they take ownership of the plushie. So in the card, as you can see, it will say, I hope you can see, apologies, I've got no idea. I can see things like comments or things happening. I can't actually see what it's being said or what's going on. So I hope I can watch this afterwards and then learn kind of how to do this, because if you have just joined, this is my first live and I've got no idea what I'm doing. So yeah, apologies if this is kind of going not how a TikTok live should, but I'm just going to keep talking anyway. And if you are still there, thank you for still staying on. But in there it tells you squeeze me 4, so just to remind the people that it's the breathing technique for calmness, the positive affirmations for resilience, and then the grounding technique for regaining control. And also then, I love that, I don't know what's just appeared above my head. Yeah, I've got no idea what that is, but thanks anyway. And then, yeah, it's weighted to £3 for comfort. And then on this side, it just gives a bit of kind of a blurb with regards to the fact that the Calmness Crew, if your child can read, it's basically saying, hi, I'm your Calmness Crew companion, squeeze my back and I'll be here to guide you, make me uniquely yours by adding your favourite badges. I'll run through them in a bit. And then name me and make what makes you smile. So you've also got the ability that the child then names it, and then the 3 things that make you smile. Now, the reason I added that into the card was when I was doing my research, when my daughter was going through the extreme anxiety coming out of lockdown, another great tool that I found was brilliant was a book called My Hidden Chimp by Professor Steve Peters. That was another amazing tool that we used. And in that, it talked about the importance of smiling, even when you don't feel like smiling. And that's the beauty of our brain as well. So that when you do the smile, apparently it triggers to the brain, even if you're not feeling happy, it can send a signal to say you are happy. So again, when your child's feeling anxious or worried, or they're grieving, or they're fearful or panicked, when they grab their plushie, if they filled this in, it's all about remembering these things. So they'll be able to focus on the techniques that they're being guided through, but then at the same time remember what they've talked about makes them smile. So they'll be able to think about the technique, and then they'll be able to think about what are the things that make me smile. Because this is the thing as well, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll do these techniques once and it'll fix it. That's not how it works. It's all about consistency. So when I've had a parent contact me with regards to the plushies, and they said their children are having tantrums before school and they don't know what to do, they don't know how to solve it or sort it, and they often then miss school and that side of things. So then I said, well, what you could try is before going to bed, they have the plushie and they're doing the technique. So they're sending the signal to the brain to say, I'm calm, I'm safe, I'm comforted, and then they go off into their sleep. Then when they wake up in the morning, they do the technique straight away. So they're not doing it at the point that they're panicked. They're doing it when they wake up, they grab their plushie again, they start doing the technique. So they're sending the signal to the brain before they've actually started to think about school and be triggered about the thought of going to school. So their brain is thinking, I'm calm, I'm safe, I'm comforted. Then they may then have to get ready to go to school, but the brain's already in a place of, well, I'm safe, I'm calm, I'm comforted. So they've done the technique in the morning before school, and then once they've then had the plushie, they then aren't having the tantrums before school anymore. And some parents, so that's happened multiple times where I've got that feedback, but then also some of the children's schools have actually allowed them to take in the plushie as well. So I've got somebody that goes to a school and the individual's got neurodiversity needs, and what they've said is that, yeah, they can bring the plushie into school. So they've got that comfort at all times. They know the techniques, and what it's about is getting that consistency. So if you're doing these techniques multiple times a day, day after day, what I'm wanting, so the dream of all of this is the more that children learn these techniques, the younger they are, as they get older, they won't need to carry around the plushie because it will become second nature to them. That's what the dream is, and that they'll remember, oh, I remember the techniques because I used to have the plushie, and they don't actually need the plushie. That I have moments, I don't know if it's perimenopause, whatever it is, I've had moments where, anxiety has tried to take over at times, out of the blue, where, say for example, I'm stuck in a traffic jam, it's raining, I'm in a tiny little car and I'm feeling quite threatened on a motorway with fog and I can't see anything, and I can start to feel, I think that's just normal, but I know the techniques now to do this. Like, I didn't know these 5 years ago when my daughter started kind of having these moments. So now that I'm potentially going into perimenopause, it's enabled me to learn these techniques that I genuinely feel are helping me even in my stage of my life. So again, it's not about necessarily the plushie then having to be with them forever until they're kind of adults, but it's a case of how you can consistently do these techniques and learn these techniques so that it gets to the point, like now my daughter, she doesn't need the plushie day to day or anything like that. She knows the techniques because obviously she had these issues 6 years ago. But again, if you can have then different prompts, because don't get me wrong, when anxiety tries to take over, your brain can forget things. So it's also then having those prompts around that when the brain is trying to kind of trick you with these emotions, it's having the prompts to remind you to go, actually, yeah, I know what I need to do, and kind of get into those techniques. So you get that booklet. So this is the box. So these come as flat packs. So I then make up the box. On the back of it, it's got all the information with regards to the features and everything on the side, who it's designed by, the safety instructions and things, because it is a device that's got a battery in it, so it's just kind of information on that. And then on the back, I don't know if you can see, there's a reward chart, which basically feeds into what I was trying to say with regards to that consistency. So the reward chart on the back, the child can cut out or they can keep it as part of the box and then just tick it off. Or if you've got some, I know when my kids were younger, they had these little stickers for like reward charts and things. You could even get some of them and put it on. But trying to get them into that consistency of doing the techniques, and then they feel as though they're progressing and they're getting rewarded. And then there's just some, like, again, some positive reinforcement on the reward chart to remind them that they're doing amazing. And then at the very end, they did it. And then again, just consistently doing these things. So with the box, that goes here, the charger and the card goes in the box. And then, depending on if somebody, I know on the TikTok shop, it's just the koala that's on there on its own. On the website, www.thekarmascrew.com, it also then has the Velcro badges. So you can probably see on the front of these ones, I don't know if you can, the badges are there. And I've got some here because I've got an order that, as I mentioned, I've got an order that I'm doing. Oh, the pillow's just falling down. And it's for somebody called Sienna. So in the box, the magic box, I'm just looking for the S. What's this one? O, P, Q, R and S. So I get the S out. So these are just Velcro badges. I have got some other designs for the initials that matches more of the Calmness Crew colouring, but I actually buy these as they are because of the cost. So when I show you the emoji badges that are on the front, for each emoji badge, you've got a mould fee, so you have to pay per new design that you've got, and then you've got a minimum order of 100 of each badge. So as you can imagine, with letters, if you've got 26 letters, and then you need the mould fee and then 100 of each, obviously, as for people that have just joined, you'll have heard that this is just a side hustle at the minute. I'm having to do a normal job. And when I started, it just got all put on credit card to enable me to do this. So I had to keep my costs as low as possible. So at the minute, they're just the initial the way that they are. But I'm hoping that in time I'll be able to afford to get my design that I've created. So what I do is, depending on, if you can see, what the name is and if they've bought the initial badge, we put the initial badge on the front. So again, the child has got ownership of it. They feel as though it's theirs, which is really important for children, to have that ownership and independence. You've then got, I've got recently the Calmness Crew emoji badge made that I'm actually going to put on every single plushie. So I want every plushie to just automatically come with this so that people can see it's the Calmness Crew badge and that there are badges to go with it. So they only arrived a couple of days ago. So I've started putting them on each of the plushie just as standard. And then what you've got, apologies, I'm getting attacked by the Velcro badges. You've then got the, let me show you, the happy face, the sad face, the tired face and the angry face. So you've got the smiley face. So these then are my designs. So to start off with, I was able to get 4 made: the smiley face, the sad face, the tired face and the angry face. So they were the 4 emotions that I've started with. I've just been able to put in an order of poorly, so a poorly emoji and an excited emoji. So I've put those in, so they should be coming